system. So I'm going to introduce a speaker to you. She can share her story. She's got a magnificent story to share, but she is a doctor of immunology. So she's extremely qualified to talk to us on the subject. Dr. André Comrie, welcome to the call. Fantastic to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Drew. Thanks for the introduction, and hello, everyone. I'm happy that you're here, and I hope that you get some value from this evening. You notice, particularly if you're a visitor, that there are either rather new people around or there are people who've been here for a very long time. You hear that Rory and Nola joined 47 years ago, and that speaks to the quality of the products, the value of what they have to offer. And I am not as long-lived in the company as Rory and Nola, but my story began 30 years ago, which is really quite a long time ago. And at that time, I was diagnosed with a late-stage cancer. I had a late-stage cancer diagnosis. And as Drew said, I am a scientist, and my first concern was, why on earth would I have got this disease? Because I spent a lot of time and energy paying attention to what I fed my family. And if that was correct, then my teaching and training suggested that my body would be up to the task and that I should not, in fact, get cancer. And here I was with this diagnosis. So the conclusion that one has to draw, I guess, after that is that what I was doing in terms of our diet and our lifestyle was not adequate for the stresses that we were placed under at the time. And so while I left the doctors to do their thing, and they did their thing for over a year, they cut me and they gave me chemo and they irradiated me and they did everything they knew how. And I gave them permission to do that because I really didn't know what else to do. One gets a really big fright. And I had two young kids. They were 8 and 5 years old at the time. So it was very important that I get over the disease. But I decided that I was going to turn my focus of attention to supporting my body and supporting this immune system, which had been not quite as effective as I had hoped. And I knew that a body that is supplied with the tools that it needs can do the job that is required of it. And the tools that the body needs are the nutrients that you give it. And so something was short in my diet. And so I went on a hunt to find some supplements that I could add to my diet, because I knew that I was not able to make major changes to the food that we were eating. And so I needed some things to be in place before I was willing to take those supplements. And I'll mention two of them. One was that they needed to have been backed by research, because I was a research scientist and it mattered that these weren't just something prepared in someone's warehouse or whatever, and they had no assurance that they would do the job that was being claimed for them. So it needed a research backing. And I also wanted the products to come from a normal food chain. I didn't want to be adding synthetics to my body. I wanted really just to supplement what should have been on my plate of food. And then a third thing I'll mention is that I wanted something that had a long history of success and many, many testimonials speaking to the benefits that other people had experienced from the products. So I was very grateful when I was actually introduced to Neolife products. They ticked those boxes for me, and I decided that that was what I was going to start taking to support my immune system. So what did I do? Well, what I knew is that that I needed to make sure that the broad spectrum of nutrients that I needed were in place. You know, if something isn't working, say your immune system, say you're prone to catching infections a lot, you might hear, and I will actually say this later, you might hear that vitamin C is a good thing to take. It supports your immune system. And that is true, absolutely true. But what is more true or more important is what the foundation of your nutrition looks like. the vitamin C is one of thousands, I suppose, of nutrients that your body needs. And if you just focus on supplementing that one thing and some of the others are not in place, then the vitamin C can't do its job anyway. So you have to make sure that your body has got everything at a basic level that it needs. And if it needs boosting in any particular area, then you can add that on top of the basics. And so in those days, the product that I took was called Formula 4, Formula 4 Plus, and that product is still available. And it's a brilliant product, and I would recommend it to people any day. So I took Formula 4, which was a multivitamin, multi-mineral with an added extra that is really very important, and that is the treonine oils that come with it. And those oils are the oils that are removed from the grains during the refining process. And those are the essential nutrients that we should be getting from our grains. What is left after they have refined the grains is really just starch. And starch provides energy, provides carbohydrates, but it is not a high nutrition food. And so by replacing the oils that we were no longer getting from our grains, we can do some really profoundly important things for our body. One of the things we do is that every single cell membrane is made healthier. The cell membranes need these fats and oils that come from the grains, they're called lipids and sterols, for their structure. And if those oils are missing, then other oils have to be brought into play because membranes need oils. There's no doubt about that. And so if you've got none of the really good grain oils and you are feeding your body margarine, then your cells will use margarine in the cell walls. And that is not a good thing. It's a very poor substitute for the real thing. And what happens then is that the cell walls become dysfunctional. They are no longer able to decide and allow what must go in and what must come out of the cell to come out. They're no longer soft and pliable. And in fact, your cells become unhealthy. And every unhealthy cell is part of an unhealthy organ. And eventually the system collapses. So it's very important that you have those oils in place so that every cell is healthy. And included in the healthy cells would be the lymphocytes, which are the white blood cells, which are fundamental for your immune system. So if you don't have those treonine oils in place, odds are that your lymphocytes are not able to function as they should. So that's foundational. And then the other foundational product, well, I had two others. One was CalMag, and then the other one was the NutriShake. In those days, there was no other shake other than NutriShake, and I took that. Nowadays, there are some options, but what is really important about the protein shakes is that they supply all the amino acids that your body needs for building all the proteins that it will require. Now, there are many proteins that your immune system needs. Firstly, there are all sorts of enzymes that play a role in the immune system, in the way in which it functions. Enzymes are made out of proteins, and if those enzymes are not able to be built by you, by your body, then the functions that they are supposed to facilitate can't happen. The other thing is that part of the immune system is the formation of antibodies. Antibodies are also made out of protein. And if you don't have the building blocks for those antibodies on board at the time that you need them, then no matter what your immune system would like to do, it is unable to build the antibodies. So what I had then was a broad-based foundation to give me healthy cells, provide all the basic nutrients that a body needs, and then to add to that the oils, the lipids and sterols, and then to add to that the proteins. And so we So that's what I had. There wasn't an awful lot more until about 5 years later, when Keratin was brought onto the market. And I'm sorry, I'm getting a funny message on my computer. Says power surge on USB port, Drew.
Still sounding good. Keep going.
Okay. So really, when I started out, when I was desperately in need of support, health support, those basics were what I took. And I would strongly recommend that even if one's intention now is to build one's immune system, you've got to start with the basic foundation. And you may, in fact, find that that actually is enough. Although when we're under particular threat, as we appear to be now, one might want to build on that. So what would we add? What would we need to say, well, what do we need in greater amounts than the basic foundational package supplies? And you will have heard that vitamin C is important. And yes, it is indeed important. And why is it important? Well, it's important for all sorts of reasons. I've got a little bit of a list here just so that I don't forget. Vitamin C actually supports the activity of the lymphocytes. And the lymphocytes are the white blood cells, which are responsible for most of your immunity. It is responsible for the production of some of the proteins that your immune system produces to help the process of tackling the invading organism or the cancer that is developing in your body or whatever. It reduces inflammation. An active immune system does cause an inflammatory response. It's part of the process, but it has to be dampened down so that it doesn't just get out of control and create this massive inflammatory response in your body. It has to be brought under control, and vitamin C is responsible for that. And one of the things that is really quite interesting is that vitamin C actually has been shown to maybe kill the viruses directly. So viruses do not like to be in a place where there is vitamin C. They do not survive very well, and therefore they cannot infect your cells and multiply and create wreak the havoc that they often can. The other important thing about vitamin C is that when it is found in nature, it isn't there on its own. When you buy vitamin C in many products on the shelves, it really is a single chemical. It's called ascorbic acid, and it can be produced by the ton, literally, very cheaply. And so you can get a high milligram dose vitamin C tablet called ascorbic acid at a very low cost. Now, if that's all you can afford, go for it. It's better than nothing, I'm pretty sure. But that's not what you will find in the Neolife family, because it's not actually good enough. It's synthetic, and it doesn't have all the goodies that come along with it when vitamin C is being concentrated from the food sources of vitamin C. So that's citrus, for example, and other things. Now, when you concentrate vitamin C from the food source, traveling along with it, part of its traveling companions, are substances called bioflavonoids. So when you look at our vitamin C, it is vitamin C plus bioflavonoids, and those work synergistically with the vitamin C, meaning that together they are more powerful than they are individually. And one of the flavonoids that comes along in the vitamin C is called quercetin. Quercetin has been studied extensively on its own as an isolate, and it is shown to be very important as an antiviral agent. And the vitamin C is very important to the quercetin because it regenerates the quercetin and allows it to be recycled. And together, they are very potent antiviral agents. Another thing that makes the vitamin C that you get from Neolife importantly different is that it is sustained release. Now, when you buy an ascorbic acid tablet of 1,000 milligrams, say, from the pharmacy or the chemist, you swallow that, you will be absorbing a huge amount of vitamin C very quickly all at once. And that is not a good thing because your body can't deal with a large amount all at once. And so it has to get rid of it and it spills it out through the kidneys. So if you get too much all at once, a good deal of it is wasted. And that saying that some people have that supplements just give you expensive urine might well be true in the case of synthetic vitamin C, because you get too much absorbed too quickly and the spillage is quite substantial. So what has happened with the vitamin C that we supply in Neolife is that it is a sustained release tablet, which means that it allows the vitamin C into the system slowly over time. And so your vitamin C in your blood never reaches the point where spillage happens unless you take an awful lot of our tablets. And so you don't waste it. And you get this spread over time of a good amount of vitamin C, keeping it constant over time. So is it a good product? It's a great product. And there is also one for kids, and that is called All C. It's chewable, it tastes delicious, and you can make sure that your kids are getting vitamin C at a time like this as well. It's every winter, by the way. This is winter. Flu and colds and things happen in winter, and it's a good time to make sure that you've got extra vitamin C and some of the other things that I'm going to talk about. Next thing that you've heard of in the press, and these are things that when they were investigating what was going on with the people who were getting really sick from COVID last year, they found that they were usually short of vitamin C. They found that they were usually short of zinc. And zinc is also a fundamentally important nutrient for the immune system and a whole lot of other systems. Zinc is a we can't do without it kind of nutrient. It affects many aspects of the immune system. It's actually necessary for the development of the immune cells. If you don't have zinc, you can't even make the immune cells that you require. And it is involved in the processes whereby the immune cells get rid of the invading organisms. So do we get zinc in the multivitamin? Yes, we do, but not in great quantities. And when your body is being challenged, as it is often in the winter, you might want to add some and take the zinc. The important thing about our zinc is that it is chelated. Now, when you are trying to absorb minerals, zinc and magnesium and calcium and all those things, they are charged, have an electrical charge, and the body doesn't absorb them very well. And so the Arthur First, who was the person that Drew mentioned earlier, the scientist that was foundational in making our product so good, he developed a process called chelation. And chelation means that you cover the mineral with amino acids, which of course are protein, which our body likes, and you trick the body into absorbing the minerals together with the amino acids that are coating them. And so you get a very high absorption rate of the zinc into the system where it's required. Then the third thing that people were talking about when they were looking at how people were, what was causing people to get so particularly sick, what were they short of? The third thing was vitamin D. And they found that people who were getting really sick were very low in vitamin D. Vitamin D plays a huge role in just about everything, but again, in immunity, and it's a very complex role. And in fact, it turns out that the white blood cells, which are our immune cells, all have receptors for vitamin D on their surface. In other words, they have a way of communicating with vitamin D in a very direct way. They don't even know what all that communication is about, but you can put money on it that if your cells have got a receptor for something, the cells need to talk to that thing. Otherwise, there's no point in inviting them to come and have the conversation. Low levels of vitamin D are linked with two extremes of immune malfunction. One is that your immune system that is responsible for reacting to infections just isn't up to the job. It's weak, it's flabby, it's ineffective. And the other is that if you are suffering from autoimmune diseases, which are the immune system gone a bit awry, and we can possibly talk about that, but it may have to be another talk, those symptoms are worse. So you've got a weak immune system on the one hand, and an immune system that's gone moggy on the other hand. Both are a result of low vitamin D levels. Ideally, we should get vitamin D from the sunshine. It's called the sunshine vitamin because if you go into the sunshine, the UV rays interacting with chemicals in your skin cause the production of vitamin D in your body, and you ought to get enough naturally. As things turn out, we don't. Why don't we? Well, we don't go out into the sun very much. When we do, we are covered in either clothing or sunblocks because of other reasons of concern. And so we protect ourselves from the sun. And in any event, most of us are not able to go out in the heat of the day, so to speak. We might go out early in the morning, we might go out late in the evening because we're working. We're indoors people mostly. And so most of us do need to make sure that we're getting enough vitamin D in our diet, or if we're not, as supplements. In our range, we don't actually have a freestanding vitamin D in this country. There is one in the States. But if we are taking the multivitamin, if we're taking our CalMag, which has got vitamin D, we're taking the shake, we are probably covering the bases for enough vitamin D at that foundational level. Another thing about the vitamin D, they found in hospital where respiratory problems were one of the big problems with the COVID thing, one of the big killers, is that adequate vitamin D amounts reduced the chances of those respiratory infections by 42%, which is huge. So a lot of the symptoms that are really debilitating and ending up being dangerous are a result of nutritional deficiencies. What puzzles me constantly is why the powers that be are not really pressing that on people, that information. They might just, in a sideways sort of way, say, you know, you can think about upping your vitamin C, eat your oranges, but they certainly aren't making sure that people understand how crucial it is that those vitamins are in place, and they aren't actually strongly recommending that people take them. I don't understand why that should be, but there it is. And then just before I move on, I just want to add that we know that most of the deaths related to, most of the COVID-related deaths are of people who are elderly or have comorbidities. And often the elderly have comorbidities. So it's not just age, it's because as they've got older, they have become victims of chronic diseases. And so they probably have more than one chronic disease as well as age counting against them. But the younger people who got really sick and died were already sick. One of the big things was obesity, huge negative factor in terms of your ability to recover from COVID, and then other comorbidities, diabetes and whatever, all the other things that go along with it. And those are all lifestyle diseases. And when you pay attention to the foundational supplements that we've got, if you take the Formula 4 or better still the Pro Vitality and the shake, over time you will normalize your weight. Obesity need not be your destiny if you feed your body properly and stop feeding it the rubbish and stop. And when you feed it rubbish, your body wants you to eat more because it's hoping somehow that something you've put in your mouth will provide the nutrients it needs. And so it cries out for more and more food because it's simply not being properly nourished. Feed it properly and it doesn't feel hungry anymore. So, so we've got every single aspect of this thing covered if we pay attention to what we're doing and what we're eating, what we're not eating, and how we are supplementing it properly. So then we've got a few really special add-ons. One of them I've already mentioned, and that was the carotenoid complex, which came out in about 95. And it was an exciting product for everybody, but especially for me because of my particular concerns at the time, which were my immunity, because it had been proven in clinical studies to raise the immunity of people by 37% in 21 days. Now, I don't know if that number sounds like a big number to you, but in terms of changing a measurement in a living human being, 37% change is huge. Often it's a matter of 5 or 10%, and they think this is quite a big deal. 37% is huge. So imagine if your immune system is operating at 37% greater capacity than it was. What do you think your chances are of actually even catching the virus? And certainly of not getting really sick with it. And so that was a very exciting product for me. And I started taking it in 1995, and I've taken it ever since. And so those of us who've been here a long time have been feeding our immune systems with particular products that are designed to strengthen them for decades. And we do, and we should back our immune systems to see us through the COVID thing as well. Everything should be in place to help us deal with that. The other thing that that the carotenoids do is reduce oxidative stress, which is part of what happens when your immune system is working hard. It's an oxidation, so you get free radicals, and your body needs to get rid of those. So this helps your body get rid of that at the same time as supporting the immune system. So it's a double whammy. And then the other one that came out a few years later is the flavonoid complex. And I guess you can describe the flavonoid complex as vitamin C on steroids. It is rich in the phytonutrients, including the quercetin, which I mentioned earlier. It's got vitamin C in it, and it really is a very powerful combination of the vitamin C and the bioflavonoids that work together so extremely well. And so we've got a very good antiviral agent there. And in fact, there is someone in my Joburg team under Monica who is a homeopath, and she prescribes large quantities of flavonoids because she said it is the most potent antiviral agent she has ever come across. If you're not taking flavonoids now and you're concerned about the virus, maybe you should consider it. Then there are a few other things. And these are all add-ons. If all you can manage is the basics, go for the basics. If all you can manage is one vitamin C tub, go for it. My mantra really is one is better than none, no matter what. But if you want the full story, I'm going to carry on if you don't mind. Garlic allium, very important as it promotes the capacity of your T cells. And the T cells are actually what are very important in dealing with viruses. Antibodies are not the best thing. They're not the be-all and end-all for viruses. Antibodies are far better for bacteria. Viruses immediately do their best to get inside cells where they're safe and where they can start using the cell's machinery to multiply. And inside a cell, an antibody is useless. So what the T cells can do is recognize cells that have virus inside them, and they can then go and wipe out those cells and prevent the viruses from multiplying. And just, I didn't mention, but one of the things that carotenoid complex was shown to do was to increase the capacity of the killer T cells. And the killer T cells are those T cells that can go and wipe out cells that are not doing what they should and cells that are infected with viruses. Very potent. And also garlic is very important in assisting in the absorption of zinc. And we've spoken about how important zinc is. So garlic is a consideration. We've got garlic tablets, which are nice because you don't smell of garlic, but certainly trying to eat as much garlic in your diet is also a very good idea. And then two other things that need to be mentioned. One is probiotics. Probiotics make sure that our gut microflora are functioning well, and the gut is a huge portion of an effective immune system. And the probiotics are even found to create antiviral products. As they go about their business and they metabolize the food that they're eating, they make these antiviral compounds and release them to us into our bodies to help fight viral replication. And there's even evidence that there are some direct probiotic viral interactions where the probiotics themselves tackle the virus before you even have to deal with it inside your body. And then the final one I want to mention is omega-3. Omega-3 is also extremely important because it plays a role in damping down the inflammation when the immune response has done its job and needs to be corralled again. And this is where it's very important when people are suffering from autoimmune diseases, because that's a situation where the immune system has been over-challenged, overstimulated, largely because of problems with the gut and the gut flora. And then the omega's got to come in there and just calm it down and say, look, you're overreacting. This isn't, it isn't the problem that you think it is, and so on and so forth. And so omega-3 is very important. So just getting back then to a basic supplement concept, I said I took Formula 4 and the shake way back then. Now I would recommend rather as a basic Pro Vitality as the shake, because in the Pro Vitality, you've got the broad spectrum of the vitamins and minerals. You've got the Treanin, which I spoke of, and then you've also got the start of a carotenoid supplementation regime. It's not as much as you might need, but it's a start. And you've also got the omega, which is the anti-inflammatory. And so it's a broader base than the Formula 4. And you might find that starts making a huge difference to your overall health and, in fact, to your immunity as well. And finally, just to mention the kids, when I started taking my products, my kids, as I said earlier, were 8 and 5 years old, and they were the ENT specialist's dream. They caught every single bug that was going. And so I decided to start them on the kids' nutrients. So I gave them Vita Squares and Vita Guard and a shake. And like magic, they stopped needing to go to the doctor. Those nutrients, despite my best efforts with their food, filled the gaps that we were missing. And when the gaps were filled, their immune system could come to the party and could do its job as it was designed to do. So I hope that you've learned something. I hope that you've maybe understood that supplementation might be something you need to do. Yeah, that's enough, I think, for tonight. I'm surprised you've concentrated for that long. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.